Once household names in entertainment, the cast of George and Mildred faced life-altering accidents that spiraled their paths in unexpected directions. Fame was not the shield they thought it would be, as challenges and triumphs shaped their destiny. Fast forward to 2025, where are they now, and how have their lives unfolded in ways no one could have imagined? Explore their gripping tales of survival, reinvention, and enduring legacy. Don't miss the inside story on the twists and turns of these remarkable individuals. Brian Murphy, who played the dim-witted yet lovable George Roper, took on the role at 44 and became a staple of British sitcom history. His portrayal of George, a bumbling, indifferent husband, was so convincing it often overshadowed his broader talents. Off-screen, Murphy's personal life mirrored some of George's misfortunes. He married actress Linda Reagan, but their union was marred by years of emotional distance, career jealousy, and the tragic stillbirth of their only child, a daughter they planned to name Charlotte. Murphy struggled after George and Mildred ended, finding it difficult to break free from the shadow of his famous character. He turned to smaller theater roles and pantomime work to make ends meet. Depression set in during the 1990s when his marriage fell apart, and he became estranged from his siblings over an inheritance dispute. Despite these hardships, he remained active in charity theater groups and was beloved in the acting community. Now 93, Murphy lives in a modest care home in Kent, rarely seen in public and often battling memory loss. His estate, once dwindled by years of modest income and legal battles, is now estimated at around £150,000. Eula Joyce, who portrayed the uptight yet endearing Mildred Roper in George and Mildred, was 47 when she embraced the role that would define her career. Known for her sharp comedic timing and expressive mannerisms, Joyce became a beloved icon of British sitcoms. However, behind the laughter was a life marked by sorrow. Married to actor Glenn Edwards, their relationship crumbled under the weight of Joyce's hidden alcoholism and struggles with depression, ultimately ending in divorce. They had no children, a fact Joyce privately mourned. Following the success of George and Mildred, her career stalled. Typecasting and her worsening drinking problem left her increasingly isolated. She endured a series of failed romances, a fractured relationship with her estranged sister, and bouts of severe loneliness. Joyce was often seen as a vibrant presence on set, but privately battled immense sadness. She died tragically of liver failure on August 24, 1980, at the age of 53, just as a film version of the series was being planned. Her estate was valued at approximately £350,000 at the time of her death, most of which went to her former husband and a small charity for mental health. Her untimely passing left a hole in British comedy, with fans and colleagues alike mourning a life cut short by personal demons. Norman Eshley, who played the snobbish and neurotic neighbor Geoffrey Formeel, was 31 when he joined George and Mildred. Eshley's crisp delivery and comedic tension with Murphy's George made him a fan favorite. Behind the camera, Eshley led a troubled life. His marriage to stage actress Veronica Blake ended after his devastating car accident in 1988, which left him with serious head injuries and years of rehabilitation. They had one son, Lucas, who later struggled with substance abuse and spent time in and out of institutions. Eshley's promising post-sitcom career never fully recovered from the accident. He was offered fewer roles and eventually turned to voiceover work for income. He became a recluse in his later years, battling PTSD and anxiety. Financial woes compounded his troubles, as he invested heavily in a failed fringe theater venture in the mid-90s. Now 80, Eshley lives alone in a small flat in Sussex, largely out of the public eye. His estate is modest, estimated around £90,000, consisting mostly of pension savings and a few remaining acting royalties. Nicholas Bondoin, who played young Tristram Formeel, was only 12 when he entered the world of George and Mildred. His role as the curious and cheeky boy next door brought charm and innocence to the show. But growing up in the public eye left Bondoin emotionally adrift. After leaving acting in his late teens, he struggled to find direction. He worked various low-profile jobs, including as a warehouse clerk and later a courier driver. He married briefly in the early 1990s, fathering 2 children, Harrison and Lily, but the marriage dissolved within 5 years due to financial pressures and Bondoin's depression. His relationship with his children has remained strained, particularly after a failed custody battle. In 2011, he suffered a breakdown after the death of his mother, with whom he had been extremely close. Despite occasional interviews for nostalgic TV specials, Bondoin has largely avoided the spotlight. Now 59, he resides in a quiet suburb in Surrey, living alone in a rented flat. His estate is estimated to be worth around £50,000, largely consisting of savings and minor residuals from syndication. Reginald Marsh, who portrayed the fussy and class-conscious Humphrey Pumphrey in George and Mildred, was 50 when he stepped into the role of the snobbish neighbor constantly irked by George's lack of sophistication. Marsh played the part with comedic precision, his character embodying the upper-middle-class disdain for the working-class Ropers. Behind the scenes, however, Marsh's life was marked by emotional turbulence. Though married to stage actress Helen Goss for over 30 years, their union grew distant in later years due to his infidelities and obsession with work. They had 3 children, Julian, Vanessa, and Clive, but his relationship with them was strained, especially following his prolonged absences and drinking problems in the 1980s. After George and Mildred, his career waned, relegated to minor roles in theater and forgettable sitcoms, leading to bouts of depression. 5 tragedies haunted his later years: a son's drug arrest, his wife's stroke, financial instability after bad investments, estrangement from his daughter, and early-onset Parkinson's. He passed away on February 9, 2001, at the age of 74 from complications related to the disease. His estate, diminished from legal fees and medical costs, was estimated at £180,000. Diana King, who played the snide and disapproving Margaret in George and Mildred, was 56 when she assumed the role of the uptight neighbor who frequently passed judgment on the Ropers' lifestyle. Her sharp delivery and cold expressions made Margaret a memorable character. In real life, however, King was far from the ice queen she portrayed. She was lonely and fragile beneath her poised exterior. She never married, though she had a long and tumultuous relationship with playwright Robert Langley, which ended bitterly in the early 1970s. She had 1 child, a son named Jonathan, born from an affair, but she kept the identity of the father secret throughout her life. Estranged from her family and distanced from her son, she battled severe depression and anxiety, exacerbated by a declining career and typecasting in stern roles. After the show ended, her health deteriorated following a series of strokes. 5 tragedies marred her later years: her lover's death, failed suicide attempt, a fire in her flat, the loss of her pension in a scam, and her sister's sudden death. Diana King died on June 27, 1986, at the age of 66, alone in a London nursing home. Her estate was modest, estimated at only £90,000. Roy Kinnear, who played the bumbling and affable Jerry in George and Mildred, was 44 when he joined the series. His character was Mildred's brother-in-law, a soft-hearted but dim-witted man who often got caught in the chaos surrounding the Ropers. A gifted character actor known for his comic timing, Kinnear's career was flourishing before tragedy struck. Off-camera, his life was less joyful. Married to actress Carmel Cryan, they had 3 children, including actor Rory Kinnear. Despite his family man image, Kinnear battled lifelong weight issues and deep insecurities about his appearance, leading to emotional volatility. Career pressures caused marital tensions, and though the marriage endured, it was fraught with infidelity and long separations. After George and Mildred, he tried to transition to serious roles but was typecast, leading to professional frustration. In 1988, while filming The Return of the Musketeers, he fell from a horse and died of a heart attack induced by internal injuries. He was only 54. The tragedy shocked the industry. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at around £300,000. Norman Mitchell, who portrayed the boisterous and perpetually inebriated Jacko, was 61 during his time on George and Mildred. His character was a working-class neighbor who often offered comic relief with his bawdy jokes and drunken antics. Off-screen, Mitchell's life bore similarities. Known as a heavy drinker and a pub regular, he struggled with alcoholism for most of his adult life. Married to actress Pauline Mitchell, the couple had 2 daughters, but the marriage was marred by frequent separations and bitter arguments, often sparked by his addiction. Post-George and Mildred, he faded into obscurity, appearing in small TV roles and enduring financial hardship. 5 key tragedies marked his decline: bankruptcy, a liver disease diagnosis, the death of his brother, his wife's early-onset dementia, and estrangement from his children. He died on March 19, 2001, at the age of 82 from complications of cirrhosis. Friends described him as a man broken by time, longing for the spotlight that once shone on him. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at £120,000. Gretchen Franklin, who portrayed Mildred's domineering and judgmental mother, was 63 years old when she joined George and Mildred. Her performance as the sharp-tongued matriarch was a highlight of the show's domestic tensions. Despite her comedic timing on screen, Franklin's life off-screen was laced with sorrow. She never married and was rumored to have had a decades-long affair with a married stage producer, which ended in heartbreak. She had no children, a fact she often lamented in interviews. After the sudden death of her brother in 1978, and caring for her ailing mother until her passing, Franklin lived alone for much of her life. She struggled with depression and turned to alcohol in her later years, which strained her few close friendships. Though she returned to TV with a beloved role on EastEnders, she retired in near isolation. Franklin passed away on July 11, 2005, at age 94 from natural causes. Her estate was valued at approximately £500,000, much of which she quietly donated to dog shelters and theater charities she supported during her lifetime. John Lyons, who played the well-meaning but bumbling policeman, was just 33 when he brought warmth and a touch of naivete to the screen. His affable charm made him a fan favorite, but his post-show career was riddled with challenges. Struggling to shed the typecast image of a clueless officer, Lyons found it difficult to secure major roles and turned to local theater to stay afloat. He married his high school sweetheart, Janet, in 1972, but the relationship was plagued by financial pressures and his long absences on tour. They divorced in 1988, leaving Lyons devastated. He had 2 daughters, Lucy and Hannah, whom he rarely saw after the divorce, deepening his emotional isolation. A brief second marriage in the 1990s ended quickly after allegations of infidelity. In recent years, Lyons has lived quietly in a small seaside town, often spotted alone walking the cliffs. Now 80, he rarely gives interviews. His current estate is estimated at £300,000, largely tied to his modest home and pension. Robert Raglan, who played the stern but weary police sergeant, was 62 when he took on the role, bringing authority and quiet frustration to a character often caught between bureaucracy and neighborhood chaos. Raglan, a consummate professional, had a long career in British film and television, but never quite achieved leading man status. Behind the scenes, his life was tinged with sadness. He married actress Deidre Kemp in 1951, but the couple separated after the death of their only son in a motorcycle accident in 1973. Raglan never recovered from the tragedy, retreating from friends and family alike. He continued working in small roles but grew disillusioned with the industry, eventually retiring in 1980. Isolated and suffering from undiagnosed depression, Raglan spent his final years in a small flat in Eastbourne. He died on April 18, 1985, at the age of 74 from heart failure. His estate, valued at around £150,000, was quietly left to a local theatre school in memory of his son. Trevor Baxter, who played the kindly and eccentric vicar, was 44 during his appearance on George and Mildred. Known for his dignified air and theatrical flair, Baxter brought an unexpected depth to the comical priest. While acclaimed on stage and television, Baxter often felt overshadowed by his more commercially successful peers. He never married, though he shared a discreet relationship with a fellow actor for many years, a love affair kept secret due to societal pressures. After the death of his partner in 1995, Baxter withdrew from the spotlight. Though he continued to write and occasionally perform, he battled loneliness, insomnia, and chronic arthritis. Friends noted his increasing bitterness toward the industry that once celebrated him. In his later years, Baxter lived modestly in a Hampstead flat filled with books, scripts, and memories. He passed away on July 16, 2017, at age 84 from complications following surgery. His estate, estimated at £600,000, was left to a trust supporting LGBTQ+ artists and writers. Anthony Sharp, who portrayed the uptight and often dismissive Mr. Fletcher in George and Mildred, was 61 years old when he took on the role of the couple's pompous neighbor. Known for his commanding stage presence and classic English delivery, Sharp's career prior to the series included a wealth of Shakespearean and television performances. However, after George and Mildred, his career stalled. Offers dried up, and he withdrew from public life. He was married once to socialite Clarissa Denham, but their marriage was turbulent, marked by long separations and personal estrangement. They had one son, Julian, who battled drug addiction and was estranged from his father for many years. Sharp suffered from depression in his later years and became reclusive, often relying on alcohol to dull emotional pain. Financial troubles also plagued his final decade, with several failed investments. He suffered 2 strokes in the early 1980s and died on July 23, 1984, at the age of 69, from complications of a third stroke. At the time of his death, his estate was modest, estimated at just £180,000, much of which was consumed by medical and legal costs. His legacy remains largely unsung, except among dedicated fans of classic British sitcoms. Robert Gillespie, who played the bumbling yet soft-spoken Mr. Stark, was 49 when he joined George and Mildred. His character brought subtle charm to the show, but his life beyond the screen was far from light-hearted. Though he enjoyed moderate success afterward in theater, his career never regained the momentum it had during his television peak. Gillespie married fellow stage actress Madeline Cray in 1960, and while their marriage lasted, it was marked by constant emotional distance and unspoken regrets. They had 2 daughters, Isabel and Francesca, both of whom moved abroad and had limited contact with their father in later years. Gillespie struggled with feelings of abandonment and suffered a nervous breakdown in the 1990s. His memoir, published in 2018, candidly exposed years of battling clinical depression and anxiety. Now 97, he lives in a small assisted living facility in South London, rarely making public appearances. Despite his long career, financial mismanagement and lack of major roles have left him with an estate worth roughly £250,000, supported largely by residuals and pension income. Jeremy Bulloch, who portrayed the youthful and overly polite Robin, was 31 during his stint on George and Mildred. Though he brought a refreshing energy to the series, he would later be far better known for his role as Boba Fett in Star Wars. Yet, fame brought complications. His acting career peaked in the late 1980s, after which he turned to the convention circuit to make ends meet. Bulloch married his childhood sweetheart Maureen Walker, and they had 3 sons, Jamie, Robbie, and Tom, but his demanding travel schedule strained their relationship. The couple separated in the early 2000s but never formally divorced. Bulloch also experienced a strained relationship with his youngest son, who struggled with substance abuse. In his later years, Jeremy suffered from Parkinson's disease, which gradually limited his public appearances. He passed away on December 17, 2020, at the age of 75 from complications related to his illness. His death was mourned by sci-fi fans worldwide, but few knew of the personal heartache he endured behind the scenes. His estate, largely bolstered by Star Wars royalties, was valued at approximately £750,000. Who is your favorite character from George and Mildred? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.